Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're stepping into a really chilling collection of moments. These are moments captured just before things turned utterly tragic. We're going to look at photos, some videos too, that looking back, they almost feel like a grim prophecy. They reveal those seconds before lives were changed forever.
Yeah, these aren't just, snapshots. They're eerie records, really. Life right on the brink. They show hidden darkness sometimes, or terrible misjudgment, or just, the cruel hand of fate. Each one tells a story of an ending, often unforeseen, always impactful.
So we've put together a deep dive into these really disturbing backstories. And we invite you to reflect, maybe, on how fragile life can be and the unexpected turns that can lead to horror, all caught in what became, a final glimpse. It's a sobering journey, but maybe one that offers a perspective on being present in our own lives. We're starting in Moscow, Russia, with an 18-year-old named Andrei Avalon. He was described as quiet, introverted. His whole world seemed to revolve around video games. His passion, maybe obsession, was so intense that his attendance at school was terrible. He actually ended up in a specialized institution for disruptive students, a place where they were meant to learn a trade, like woodworking.
And what's sort of fascinating here is how Andrei, despite struggling socially in the real world, he built this huge online social circle through gaming forums mainly. But it was in that digital space that his true unsettling fascination came out. His avatar, Walter Sullivan.
From Silent Hill 4, right?
Yeah.
The horror game.
Exactly, the antagonist. Sullivan's depicted as this calm, shy killer, known for carving numbers into victims, and, a very violent self-inflicted death where he severs an artery. Andrei didn't just like the character, he really seemed to idolize him. He even started mirroring parts of Sullivan's persona online.
And this virtual obsession, it soon crashed into his real-world frustrations. Andrei got into this bitter feud with one of his lecturers, Sergei Danilov, who taught health and safety. Mr. Danilov was a former Army officer, a father of 3, known for being strict, no nonsense. He didn't put up with bad behavior or lateness, and Andrei's apathy, his lack of effort in class, it caused real friction. Apparently, one argument got so bad that Mr. Danilov was actually getting ready to expel Andrei. Online, Andrei told his friends chillingly, "I'm going to kill that guy sooner or later."
But they just dismissed it.
Yeah, they thought it was just dark humor. Apparently, that was pretty common on their forum. But then a more unsettling pattern started. Andrei began signing off his messages with a hashtag 11117. People asked him what it meant, but Andrei never explained. Its terrifying meaning, though, would become clear very soon. So on November 1st, 2017, a Wednesday, Andrei went to his classes like usual, but studying wasn't really on his mind. During a break, Andrei went to Mr. Danilov's classroom. He found the lecturer, who was 44, alone. His back was to the door. Andrei still had a toothpick in his mouth. He had a kitchen knife. He walked up quietly behind Mr. Danilov and just in a furious rage plunged the knife into his neck. The lecturer collapsed, couldn't even scream for help.
And what Andrei did next is, it's truly disturbing. He paused. Not to run, but to take 2 selfies. One was with his victim's body, which obviously we can't show. The second one he posted immediately to his VK page, the big Russian social media site. In that photo, Andrei's holding a power saw he'd taken from the school workshop. Toothpick still in his mouth. And he accompanied it with a song by a band called November's Doom. This wasn't just some sick souvenir. It was like a memento mori, a statement meant for others to see, a really perverse kind of public confession.
That performative element, it's just terrifying. And only minutes after posting that picture, Andrei used that same power saw to cut his own throat. Both men were found dead soon after. Medics came, but they were pronounced dead on arrival. Now, the authorities mentioned Andrei might have been influenced by an online death group where members egged each other on. How much can we really attribute this kind of extreme violence to online groups, especially when it ends like this, so public, almost theatrical?
It's a really critical question, and one we're grappling with more and more. It's hard to draw a direct cause and effect line every single time, of course. But these online communities, they can definitely act as powerful echo chambers. For someone like Andrei, who it seems had trouble connecting in the real world, these groups offer this twisted sense of belonging, validation even. They can normalize extreme thoughts, give a platform for sharing dark fantasies, and gradually that line between online roleplay and real-world action just gets blurred. The anonymity, the shared validation, it can escalate things quickly, makes online threats feel less like dark humor and more like some kind of shared mission. And that theatrical element, the selfies, it underlines that. It's not just a private act of despair anymore. It's a public declaration meant to shock, maybe even recruit others.
So it's not just about the act itself, but the audience they're trying to reach. It makes you wonder about that line between a cry for help and something more like digital terrorism. A really haunting idea, and the human cost is just immense. Anonymous students later described Mr. Danilov as, well, a very kind person. Strict, yeah, but fair. Like a father to them, always trying to help. Even the band, November's Doom, they put out a statement. Expressed profound sorrow for the families and condemned using their music in such a horrific way, so the thought just sickened them. Okay, shifting gears now, away from those dark human interactions to a tragedy really born from our digital lives. This next story takes us to Barcelona, Spain, and the devastating life of Rosario Endrinel, known as Charo. She was born into poverty back in 1954, but she was smart, high IQ, had a bubbly personality. Despite her early struggles, she managed to build a decent life, got married, had a daughter, even landed a good job at a superstore, partly because she spoke foreign languages fluently. But her life took a really dark turn around 1995. An affair led to a cocaine addiction. Her lover just abandoned her on the streets of Paris.
And when she got back to Barcelona, her husband and daughter, well, understandably, they'd turned their backs. So for 5 years, Charo was homeless, jobless. She ended up sleeping alone inside the enclosed vestibule of Casher Bank ATM. And the heartbreaking irony here, the cruel twist.
She used to work there.
Yes. The bank was in an affluent area, and Charo had actually worked at that very bank before her life fell apart, sleeping in the place that once symbolized her professional success.
So in the early hours of December 16th, 2005, Charo, now 51, was sleeping there again, on cardboard. Around 1:30 a.m., two 18-year-olds, Ricard Peñagua and Oriol Plana, she'd never met them, they came into the booth. They started hurling insults at her, kicked her, threw rubbish, hit her with a plastic bottle, even a traffic cone. Charo, sadly, was used to this kind of thing, from other homeless people sometimes, or angry drunks. She managed to lock the two guys outside, then she just lay back down, went back to sleep, thinking she was safe. But the horror wasn't over, not even close. Several hours later, around 4:20 a.m., a 16-year-old, Flat Jose, knocked on the booth door. He told Charo he just needed to use the ATM. Charo didn't know he was with the other two. She let him in. And this image of Charo opening that door, it's the last one captured of her alive. Once inside, the three teenagers started mocking and attacking her all over again.
And what happened next was just unspeakable. Ricard and Juan left briefly. They came back about 30 minutes later with 25 liters of industrial paint thinner. Oriol held the door open. Juan Jose and Ricard just doused Charo in this highly flammable liquid. Then Ricard lit her on fire with a cigarette. The three of them ran off, laughing, as Charo was engulfed in flames. Reaching temperatures of 400 degrees Celsius, firefighters got there soon after, found Charo clinging to life, 70% of her body severely burned. She tragically died 28 hours later in hospital.
The whole thing was caught on the bank's surveillance cameras. It sparked outrage across Spain, as you can imagine. The attackers were identified and arrested pretty quickly. During the trial, videos found on Ricard's phone revealed that this trio, they frequently attacked and humiliated other homeless people. Their motive, which came out, was described as an ideological opposition to homelessness. They thought they were wiping them from the streets. I mean, that idea is just horrifying. It suggests this level of dehumanization that's beyond random violence. What does that tell us about maybe societal pressures or biases that could lead young people to think like this?
It really points to a very dangerous normalization of prejudice. When any group in society, like the homeless here, is seen as other or just a problem to be solved rather than as individuals with inherent worth, well, it creates fertile ground for dehumanization. This kind of ideological opposition, it often comes from a toxic mix, doesn't it? Fear, maybe disgust, a very simplistic view of complex social problems. Instead of looking at the root causes of homelessness, these individuals adopted this mindset where the solution is just to eliminate the visible symptom, the people themselves. It's a terrifying reminder of how easily empathy can just erode, especially in a group dynamic where they reinforce each other's biases, escalating things to extreme cruelty, like what happened to Charo. It's a complete breakdown of compassion.
That breakdown of compassion. Yeah, that's the most chilling part. So in November 2008, Ricard and Oriol got 17 years each for murder. Juan Jose, being a minor, got 8 years in juvenile detention. Disturbingly, though, since this happened over 18 years ago now, all three are actually free men. Ricard was released early back in 2016, served just 11 years. Charo's daughter, Santal, she later spoke about her profound grief, not just for her mother's death, but for losing any chance they might have had to reconcile.
Santal's words really are powerful. She said, "Perhaps on a day like today, my mother could have decided to accept help and become again the woman she had once been, but that opportunity was taken away from her." It speaks to that wider tragedy, doesn't it? These acts don't just end a life. They extinguish hope. Hope for redemption, for reconciliation, for families to maybe heal. It leaves a permanent scar on so many lives.
Okay, our next story is a truly modern cautionary tale. It really highlights the growing dangers in this relentless chase for social media perfection. January 3rd, 2021. Nupur Prajapati and her friends are having a picnic by a waterfall in India's Cocoon region. They call it the Grand Canyon of Odisha. After eating, like so many people do now, they started looking for that perfect photo spot along the banks of the Iber River, which was raging at the time, for the social media, of course. This picture, it captures Nupur just moments before her life ended abruptly. Right after this photo, Nupur was focused on taking what she hoped to be the perfect selfie. On a rocky ledge by the river, a friend was filming what happened next. Another man, also totally absorbed in taking selfies near the churning water, he lost his balance, and he inadvertently nudged Nupur.
She lost her footing, tumbled right into the rapids. The water wasn't deep, but it was incredibly strong. Nupur managed to cling to the rocks for just a brief, desperate moment. But the current overpowered her, swept her downstream. There was a grueling 22-hour search. Fire brigade, her loved ones. They found her body the next day in a stone crevice about 400 meters downstream, wedged under a rock. She'd been carried over a nearby waterfall.
In Nupur's case, tragically, it's not unique. India especially is seeing just a long line of these selfie-related deaths recently. Tourists falling from heights, getting hit by cars, trains, even attacked by wildlife, all while trying to get that ultimate social media post. We've seen cases like a man in the same state, Odisha, attacked by a wild bear while trying to pose with it, which then led to a crowd beating the bear to death later. Or a Japanese tourist at the Taj Mahal falling downstairs to his death while trying to get a selfie. It seems like that desire for online validation can just override basic survival instincts sometimes.
And if we look at the bigger picture, there was a study, Journal of Travel Medicine. It revealed a pretty sobering statistic. There have been at least 379 selfie-related deaths over the last 13 years or so, significantly more than, say, fatal shark encounters. There were about 90 in the same period. And India accounts for a huge chunk of those deaths, 26.4%, by far the highest. The U.S. is next at around 10.3%. This chase for the perfect picture just makes people disregard basic safety, prioritizing likes over lives, as they say.
It really makes you stop and think, what are the psychological drivers here behind this relentless risk-taking for social media? Is it just validation, or is there something deeper, like peer pressure, maybe a distorted sense of reality from living so much through a screen?
Well, it's definitely complex, multifaceted. We live in such a performative culture now, don't we? Experiences aren't just lived, they're like curated and broadcast. That instant gratification, the likes, the comments, it gives you a dopamine hit. It's perceived social currency, and it can be incredibly addictive. And this can sort of desensitize people to real-world risks, makes them overlook obvious dangers just to get that ultimate shot that'll get maximum engagement. The lines between virtual and real just get blurry. And chasing that digital memory tragically outweighs the value of the present moment, or even life itself.
That's a powerful point, living through a screen versus living in the moment. And as a result, governments, India and others worldwide, they're putting up no selfie zones now in dangerous spots, especially places with steep drops or water. The message is pretty clear. It's better to actually live in the moment, experience life through your own eyes, rather than risking everything for just a fleeting digital memory. They're essentially saying, live in the moment, don't risk dying in it. Hey. Okay, our final piece for this deep dive takes us into the world of K-pop. Often glamorous, yes, but also undeniably dark sometimes. While the genre has passionate fans everywhere, its dark side is pretty well documented too. Grueling training schedules, mistreatment, exploitation sometimes, and just constant pressure to maintain this impossible image. Idols often get discarded if they don't live up to the industry standards. Amid all that pressure, there was this rising K-pop group, a quintet called Ladies Code, formed back in 2012. They shared this really unbreakable bond, described themselves as sisters. Among them, two members, Rise and UB, they were inseparable, best friends, roommates too. Always side by side, smile and having fun. You can see it in this photo, posted on their leader Ashley's Twitter. Tragically, it would be the last photo ever showing all 5 members together, because shortly after that picture was shared, the unthinkable happened. September 2nd, 2014. Ladies Code recorded a segment for a concert in Daegu, South Korea. After filming, the members, plus a stylist and their road manager, a Mr. Park, they all got into a van for the long drive back to Seoul. Just after midnight, September 3rd, they made a pit stop. They were actually in pretty high spirits because it was another member, Sojung's 21st birthday. The others even surprised her with a makeshift cake, just a stack of choco pies, the popular Korean snack cakes. Ironically, though, they were worried about gaining weight, so they all decided not to actually eat it, a decision Seo-jung later said she deeply regretted.
So around 1:30 a.m., it was raining on the Yeongdong Expressway, and Mr. Park, the manager driving, was speeding, doing about 85 miles per hour in a 60 zone. As they got near Single Junction, just outside Seoul, the van started hydroplaning. Skidding violently, Mr. Park lost control. Witnesses saw the van roll multiple times before crashing into a guardrail.
Yeah.
There were 7 people in the van. 4 managed to get out and flag down help. But Yoon B, Rise, and Seo-jung were still inside, unconscious. Apparently, none of the airbags deployed on impact. And a first responder later said he didn't remember undoing any seatbelts for those 3 women. The scene was described as just extremely chaotic. Rise wasn't breathing, needed CPR right away. All 7 were rushed to nearby hospitals. The tragedy unfolded quickly. Yoon B, just 21 years old, was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. Seo-jung and Rise had the most severe injuries. Rise's condition got worse. She was transferred for emergency brain surgery, but she tragically died from her injuries on the morning of September 7th, 2014. Seo-jung's condition eventually stabilized. Ashley, Zuni, Mr. Park, and the stylist, they had minor injuries and were released after treatment. In the wreckage, among all the debris, some sharp-eyed internet users later spotted something really poignant: a banana plush toy. It was Yoon B's beloved toy. A fan had given it to her. She'd talked about it in interviews, saying she slept with it when she felt lonely. That detail became this heartbreaking symbol of their loss. And adding to the tragedy, the paparazzi reportedly acted disgracefully at both funerals, ignoring family pleas for privacy, snapping close-ups of grieving guests. Just awful.
This whole incident, it really shines a harsh light on the K-pop industry itself. Expert, how much do you think the broader pressures, those relentless schedules, the constant travel, how much might that contribute to these kinds of tragic accidents, creating an environment where maybe safety gets compromised for the sake of performance?
It's a really critical point. The K-pop industry is notorious for its demands, just relentless. Idols are often on these incredibly tight schedules, constant travel, often overnight, between recordings, concerts, promotions. It leads to severe sleep deprivation, fatigue, immense pressure on everyone involved, performers and management alike. So when you combine that with factors like Mr. Park speeding, possibly trying to stick to a strict timetable, it just creates a really dangerous environment. Basic safety can easily get overlooked, even if unintentionally. The focus on maintaining that image, meeting those performance demands, it can sadly overshadow the human cost. This tragedy, in many ways, became a stark illustration of those hidden dangers behind the glamour.
It really did. In court, Mr. Park claimed one of the van's back wheels just came off while he was driving, causing the crash. But experts looked into it and determined the wheel actually detached because of the crash, not before it. Park was sentenced to a little over a year in jail initially, but that sentence was later suspended. He had to attend driving classes instead. He eventually settled with Yoon and Rise's families out of court. After the accident, the 3 surviving members of Ladies Code, they did continue performing together for a while. They even dedicated their first show in Japan, Rise's homeland, to both her and Yoon. But despite having a promising future, Ashley, Seo-jung, and Zuni eventually went on an indefinite hiatus when their contract ended. They found it just too hard to keep going after what happened. Though the memory of that awful night and the good times too, like that last photo when all 5 were together, clearly lives on. These stories, they really remind us how quickly just an ordinary moment can unravel into tragedy, how dark intentions can fester unseen, or how a single, seemingly innocent action can lead to irreversible loss. Each last photo, each final video clip, it serves as this stark reminder of just how unpredictable life is.
And what do these final images really tell us? Maybe they're not just about the end of a story. Maybe they're a powerful call for us, to be present, to cherish every breath we take, and to live consciously, really live before our own last photo is ever taken. It's a reminder that life is happening right now, not just for a camera or for what others think.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into these really haunting moments. We hope these stories give you maybe some pause for reflection on the value of every single moment. If you found this deep dive compelling, please do make sure to like, share, and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more stories like these. Goodbye for now.